Hi everyone, good day and welcome to Wednesday morning's briefing from the Celtic Way. I've changed it to good day because there's too many mornings in there. It's just a bit clunky, Tony. It's all good morning, welcome to Wednesday morning's morning briefing. I've made a decision. I've gone the Aussie route, good day, although I said good day there. Are you having a good day? It's kind of nice weather by the looks of things where you are.
It's cracking here. It's to be sunny all week, Hamish. So as you can see, short sleeves are on. You know what I mean? So yeah, enjoying it. It's very rare that we get a whole week of what we would call sunshine. So yeah, excellent. 15, 16 degrees here. So maybe a bit cooler where you are, but hey, there you go. Or cooler than what you expect. But Tap's half weather as it's known in Glasgow, Hamish. You know that. As soon as it.
Please don't.
No, I promise I won't. We want to keep the viewers here. That's something that nobody wants to see. There you go.
Okay, right. Plenty to chat about. Good morning, everyone. Filter in, and you come. That's not very nice. Hope it's raining in Australia. That's nasty. From Celt 88. It is actually raining at the moment in Melbourne, but it rains a fair bit of the time. But I'm inside, everyone, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, before we get started, first of all, mix this up slightly. First of all, Tony, tell us about this offer we've got going at the moment.
Yep, £1 for 6 months of access. And as you can see there, you can be the owner of that Jota print from renowned football artist made by Frankie. All you have to do is subscribe. Excellent. These prints made by Frankie are terrific value. And also, as we always say, we think that £1 for 6 months of access to everything that we do on the website is great value as well. So thanks to everybody that's taken that up in the recent weeks or the past couple of weeks it's been on. And if you fancy that, then you could be the proud owner of that Jota print made by Frankie. They're worth having, Hamish.
Yep. Yeah, they are. Jota could do with maybe scoring a few more goals, but you can have it now for that point when Jota really catches fire in his second spell at Celtic. Also, a quick word from our sponsor. This Celtic Way video is brought to you by S1 Jobs there at the top of the screen. If it's time to hand in your transfer request, then head over to s1jobs.com. Upload your CV there today. With thousands of jobs across Glasgow, Edinburgh and the surrounding areas, you'll find the one at S1 Jobs. Start your search today. It's not raining in Sydney. Okay, enough weather chat. Tony, you've not been on since Sunday. Don't worry, everyone, we're not going away back into Sunday. We're not going to spend this show looking back at Sunday. Do you have any thoughts? What have you been thinking about most over the past 3 or 4 days? And it's allowed to be not Celtic at all, because I wouldn't blame you.
Do you know my biggest thought is, and I wrote it on the other day, I actually stuffed up my question to Brendan Rodgers, but I still got the answer I wanted. I meant to say to him that one of the times he said he was the angriest he's ever been when Celtic came back to win 3-1, and I meant to say I'm sensing similar levels of anger, but somehow it came out my mouth as I'm not sensing anger, to which he replied, oh, there's anger, and off he went. And I think he understood what I kind of meant. So, confession from me, I kind of stuffed up the question, but I still got the response that we wanted and everything else that followed. So, I think he kind of knew what I was trying to say. And sometimes it happens. Because when I left, I was like, I made a mess of that. That's not the question I meant to say. I meant to say similar levels of anger, but because you could tell. But because he was measured and controlled, and he always is, maybe that was in my head, that not seeing you, but clearly you've had words type thing. So that was my takeaway from that. Note to self, get it right. But amazingly, he was still in tune with my thoughts, and he kind of shot me that glance and then just went off on his kind of, there's anger, and then started talking about mentality and stuff like that. And so, yeah, I got there. We got there in the end with him, but so that was kind of my takeaway from that. But listen, it's parked, it's put to bed. The irony is Celtic can conceivably win the title this weekend with a win against Kilmarnock and Rangers losing to Aberdeen. And, I think, just see the way the season's going, Hamish, I think the biggest thing for the Celtic supporters was that after Sunday, it really stung them to the core that they can't win it against Kilmarnock this Saturday by winning, and they can win it by default the next day. And in keeping with the season, that's probably what will happen, isn't it? Celtic fans will be in their home on Sunday, and the result maybe will fall their way, and it'll be like, yay, and it won't feel like. Whereas Saturday, had they beat St Johnstone, Saturday would have been a brilliant day, and they very rarely get to do that in front of 60,000 people, don't they? And I think that was the biggest disappointment for everybody. The league title was always going to be won, just a question of when. And I think, like I said on Sunday prior to the game kicking off, I was so up for it. 3 stands were up for it. The only people that weren't up for it were the Celtic players. And I think that's really annoying, and I think that's what kind of disappointed the Celtic supporters. But now looking forward to Saturday now and going and getting the result and just shaking that lethargy off. I wrote a piece yesterday sort of saying whatever this Champions League mentality that the manager spoke about, they have to bring that back. They have to treat these last 7 games, hopefully 8 with the Scottish Cup final, as if they're still competing in the Champions League. That was the thrust of that article, if you want to ever read it. And whatever they did then, it seemed to work for them, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, just when you're talking about potentially winning the league at Celtic Park, and obviously that isn't going to happen this weekend, I was just thinking in my head that there is still the possibility of that happening this season. Obviously, it would have to go further than this weekend, but I think, again, just thinking in my head, I think there's like a 1 in 2 chance that the first game after the split would be at Celtic Park, because obviously Trophy Day is going to be the final game at Celtic Park, and we're only due one more Celtic Park game. I think the midweek game before Trophy Day won't be a home game, so that's one away. Ibrox is obviously an away game, and they won't put that up first if there's a chance of winning the league. So that only leaves match day 34 and 35. So there's a 1 in 2 chance that if it goes beyond this weekend, we could still have a chance to win it at Celtic Park. And I kind of hope that happens, to be honest. But equally, I mean, if we win it this Sunday, I'm just at the point where I want it won. But in recent years where the team have kind of been afforded, to an extent, the opportunity to maybe not give their full maximum quality effort, etc., after winning the league. For example, 2 years ago under Ange Postecoglou, we notably went off after we won the league. I think we dropped like 8 points, something like that, in 3 or 4 games. That's not going to be allowed this season. I don't think the team have earned it this season, just because of the form we've had in 2025. So that's going to be interesting to me, and especially with one of those games being Ibrox. Again, in the past, maybe after winning the league, as much as you're always going to want to win win at Ibrox, get a good result. I remember 2 years ago we lost that 3-0. It was frustrating at the time, but very quickly forgotten about by the players and the fans. I think this year, even after we win the league, I think it's going to be kind of business as usual, and the team really have to finish the season strongly. But no, your article is well worth reading. I think it was a good point about the fact that Brendan Rodgers has spoken about mentality both times in Perth this year for different reasons. And at the start of the season, before Dortmund, the mentality was all there. I think the team were kind of the Champions League offered so much to the team this year. It was a real driver, I think. And I think going out the Champions League, but to be honest, even before then, I think we've seen a bit of a drop off in everything. But anyway, we can return to that. Kieran Tierney, he's doing well in the Champions League, isn't he? Well, Arsenal are anyway. He came on last night for the final 10 minutes against Real Madrid. If you don't know, Arsenal beat Real Madrid 3-0, courtesy of 2 of the best free kicks you'll ever see. The second one from Declan Rice is unbelievable. But Tierney came on for the final 10 minutes. He's playing a lot of games for Arsenal, all of them off the bench pretty much, but he's still valued to an extent. And Arsenal fans are pretty gutted to be losing him. Do you think there's a chance he's going to win the Champions League and then rock up at Lennoxtown 2 weeks later?
What a way to announce your comeback to Celtic with a Champions League medal in your hipper. Would you put it past them? I mean, Arsenal were terrific last night. Have to say that. But every time Tierney plays for Arsenal, every Celtic supporter's on kind of Tierney watch, aren't they? Hoping that nothing happens and telling him not to fly into tackles or whatever. But it's Kieran Tierney. It's what he does. And yeah, I mean, great to see him get some minutes against Real Madrid. Great to see us. I mean, I think there was a stat last night that Real Madrid haven't lost a quarter-final since 2004. I'm sure somebody was saying something like that. So, you know,
I don't think the tie's over, by the way, because Madrid get an early goal next week.
Any other team, you would say, you know, it's finished, but it's Real Madrid. So yeah, but no, I think everybody's just got a vested interest now in all the minutes that Kieran Tierney plays, and he is looking the part, isn't he? He's looking every inch the fit footballer, and you know, Jota was talking about Jota 2.0 next season. You just think that left-hand side of your team, you know, with a fully fit Jota and Kieran Tierney firing on all cylinders, it's you know, it's pretty mouthwatering. I think Celtic supporters are looking forward to that. You know, you saw this season at the right, you know, up until Christmas, the way Alistair Johnston and Nicholas Kuhn linked up, and it you know, that came to fruition, and a lot of good things came from that. No surprise, there's been a tapering off since. And my dog's on cue.
It's been a while, Tony.
Yes, indeed. But yeah, give me a second. Yeah. So, but I'm looking forward to that. Seeing that next season, Kieran Tierney and Jota down that left-hand side. I think Celtic supporters are highly anticipating that. But I'd love to see him come back to Celtic with a Champions League winners' medal. It'd be great. And he also has an FA Cup winners' medal as well, doesn't he? So good luck to him on that quest as well. And as I say, every minute he gets for Arsenal are valuable, and the fans do like him. You know, the Arsenal fans, you know, you ask Arsenal fans as well, even though he never really fulfilled his potential, they love Charlie Nicholas too. He was at Arsenal. They loved him down there in North London. So, but they really are kind of perplexed as to why he's coming back to Celtic, aren't they? But Arsenal's losses, hopefully Celtic's gain. Can't wait to see that next season.
It's funny because I was watching Kieran Tierney. I was watching the Arsenal game on Saturday, and I was kind of half watching it, and then Kieran Tierney came on for the final 15 minutes, and I thought, right, okay, I've not really watched Tierney play in recent times other than for Scotland. I'll probably tune in and see, and he was really good. He had one cross in particular when he got to the byline and cut it back for Odegaard, and Odegaard put it just wide, and it was such a reminder. You know, a bit like Jota, when a player leaves, you remember like the goals they scored and maybe the assists and the moments they made you feel, but you kind of forget the wee things. Yeah. And the thing about Kieran Tierney, I'd completely forgot. Remember how good he was at cutbacks. Remember getting to the byline and cutting it back. I always remember 2015-16, him and Lee Griffiths had a great relationship. And I'm just thinking, you know, Tierney cutting it back for Maida, or Tierney cutting it back for Nicholas Kuhn, if Nicholas Kuhn decides he wants to be a top player again, is pretty exciting. And he was great on Saturday.
Yeah, and he's no slouch at getting forward and having a pocket goal. Hamish, you know, that left foot. I think everybody remembers the one at Pittodrie. Remember he crashed it.
Remember the one against Kilmarnock in the Cup at Celtic Park, like 35 yards.
You know, so I'm just looking to everything that he brings, and you know he's going to be fully committed because his heart and soul lies at Celtic Park. So that's one thing you won't struggle with. Everybody just is concerned about fitness, but you know, looking at him now, he looks to be the fine specimen of footballer that he was, that earned him the £25 million move in the first place, and long may that continue. And as I say, it's just exciting to think that you're going to have those two players who have been over the course and distance before, and who love the club and will give their all for it.
He's, I mean, we're clearly going to have to manage him. I think that's very important next year. That he's coming through games, but I mean, he's playing 10 minutes at a time for Arsenal. He's not playing very often. I think he started one game recently, which was the second leg against PSV, and did pretty well again. He's been playing at left wing as well, which I think is interesting. But he's not going to be a player that can come in and can play Saturday, Wednesday right away for us, or to be honest, probably ever, if we're brutally honest about it. I think we're going to have to pick and choose his games. But if you have a reliable and pretty good number two alongside him, whether that's Schlupp, and I know people are maybe changed their tune a little bit in Schlupp in recent weeks, and there's no doubt he's struggled a bit on Sunday, struggled in the derby. But I still like Schlupp generally, and I think if you get someone like Schlupp next to Tierney, that could be a really good combination. And then when it comes to the big games, you have got, I think Kieran Tierney is a top 15 left back in Europe. I think he's of that level, and I think we're going to be really fortunate to have him. And not just his quality as a player, the fact that he's coming into the club and he's going to. He played under Scott Brown, like Callum McGregor. He played under Scott Brown. He learned from Scott Brown. Not that he really needed to learn too much about the club, being a fan, but he knows the standards. He knows that you can't just coast like so many of this team are coasting at the moment. So Kieran Tierney, you get quality, you get 100% application every single game, a will to win, regardless of if you're 13 points clear. And he's just going to be such a big addition for us. But it'd be amazing if he could win the Champions League.
Tremendous. And also, you're bringing back a vastly experienced and a vastly improved footballer. You don't play at that level of football and the calibre of opposition and not become better and train with gifted individuals every day of your career for a certain period and not become a better footballer. I mean, Kieran Tierney was a class act when he left. He's not going to be a classier act. Any rough edges will be refined, they'll be smooth. And I think that's what I'm looking forward to most. I want to see the improvements in Kieran Tierney's game because I know what he can do. I just want to see him execute it better. And if he can execute it better, what a footballer you have. Granted, fitness is always going to be the issue, but he's clearly spoken to the manager about that, which is why he agreed to come back. So that will be managed, and I think it will be carefully managed. But I think first and foremost, you're bringing Kieran Tierney back to play football matches, and you'll want him for football matches. Granted, you don't want to burn him out at any stage, but he's coming back to play, and I think that's a stipulation he will have made to the manager as well. I'm coming back to play.
It's just so exciting.
Yeah, correct. I mean, I can't wait.
Yeah. Okay, just Helen's reminded me. She's saying, just got tickets for the semi-final. I'm so excited. Great way to start the day. Good for you, Helen. Tickets are in general sale for the St Johnstone game in just over a week. That's kind of unusual, I think, for big semi-finals, finals at Hampden. I think there's a few reasons for that. The fact we're playing St Johnstone, maybe not quite as appetising as a normal game at Hampden, although they did just beat us a few days ago, so we can't take anything for granted. And yeah, I mean, the team are not exactly a great watch at the moment, so it's probably affected ticket sales. I think the digital only aspect of the tickets as well has meant that, you can get a ticket for the game now, even if you're not a season ticket holder. So I shouldn't be saying this, should I? Because they're going to leave us now. They're going to leave us. I'm going to actually keep an eye on the number, see if that goes down, see if anyone leaves us to go and get a ticket for next Sunday. I wouldn't blame you. Celtic, I was going to say Celtic are more entertaining than us too. Not sure they are right now, but hopefully we get a good crowd for that next Sunday.
Yeah, listen, I think but if anything, I think the opposition winning against you on Sunday should sharpen the senses. And let everybody know who wants to go to that game that it's not a foregone conclusion. Celtic will have to bring their A game because these are the things that can happen if you don't turn up, or if certain players think you can coast. You just can't coast. You've got to turn up. And, you know, I've always felt that Scottish Cup semi-finals are weird affairs, aren't they? They can be, depending on the calibre of opposition, they can be sellouts or not. And I just think Hampden turns a lot of Celtic supporters off, or a lot of supporters in general. It's just, I can't remember the last great occasion, atmosphere-wise. Somebody in the group chat will tell me. Probably the Invincible season, because of what was riding on it, and Tom Rodgick's goal in 2018. For me, atmosphere-wise, I don't think you'll top that moment, but I struggle to remember anything that would eclipse that in recent history, because Hampden's just, even when Celtic have gone there and defeated Rangers on many occasions, I just felt that it's always very flat, and it puts people off. And obviously, a semi-final against a team like St Johnstone, Celtic supporters might feel that it's a foregone conclusion, but it certainly ain't. Not with the way the Celtic team is currently going about their business. So they'll need to rediscover, as I say, that Champions League mentality and rediscover their mojo pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think back in the day, it was certainly hellish. I'm talking early 2010s. Every time you went to Hampden, you were expecting something bad to happen. I think now that at Hampden there is a general feeling Celtic will come out on top. I mean, Brendan Rodgers has never lost at Hampden, has he? And there's been a number of games now, so that does give you some confidence. But yeah, can the team just turn up when it really matters and turn it on? Possibly, but I'd much rather they get a big performance in this Saturday and can go into the game with some confidence. I think tickets might be sold out, because the website, I just went on there and had a look and it wasn't showing me any tickets. So you might have missed out, everyone, if you've not got a ticket. The other news yesterday was that there's been a news for VAR fans that Alan Muir has left his role as the full-time video assistant referee. Alan Muir, who's had a few blunders in recent weeks, most notably the goal that should have been at Easter Road. He also had a Dyson Maida moment, people may remember, at Fir Park with Stephen O'Donnell, that I think went into the net. Could have been a goal, could have been a penalty. No, it was neither. He gave a free kick the other way, and then the key match incident panel said that it should have been a penalty. And he's even the referee last year for one you may remember, Sead Haksabanovic at Rugby Park in the Cup. Stonewall penalty that was denied. So on the pitch, in the VAR studio, he's had a bit of a shocker, but he's left that role.
And remember, he was also on the line the day Josh Meekings handled the ball from the Griffiths header. He was the guy that was standing right next to him and apparently shouted to the referee face that it hit his face, when the whole world could see that the one that denied Ronnie Dylar's treble. Lee Griffiths, yeah. So I think the words repeat offender come to mind with Alan Muir, and those on the other side of the city will say he was the guy that didn't award a penalty in the League Cup final with the Liam Scales incident. So it's not just Celtic that are complaining about him. But when you are in a position of that importance, you can't really afford to get it wrong once or twice, but that's a litany that we've just reeled off there. And other clubs as well, I'm sure, have that Alan Muir decisions that have cost them or have gone against them, blatant ones. So it's never nice to see someone lose their job, but he's been removed from office for a reason, Hamish, because he's clearly incompetent at best in that role, and is not fit for purpose. So he has been removed because the SFA and Willie Collum spoken about transparency and spoken about doing stuff and educating the referees and their video assistant referees if they do get it wrong. So this is the first kind of step that they've taken, proactive step to say, do you know what, this is unacceptable. And I think everybody heard the audio from Easter Road, didn't they? when 2 or 3 people were like, it's not conclusive, and he was the lone voice who was the only man to say that he saw a clear image of the whole of that ball crossing the line, and he's fallen on his own sword because of stuff like that. And the actual chat that you heard, it kind of beggared belief, didn't it? Because everybody was in agreement that you can't conclusively prove that ball didn't go over the line. Yet he shouted them all down, didn't he? He rolled them all down. So and whatever his motivations were for that, or you can turn around and say that he had some conclusive proof or angle. The manager said it himself at the time. He said he thought the officials guessed it. He guessed it, and got everybody on the panel to agree with him for whatever reasons, for whatever motivation or reasons he had for doing that. We can all speculate as to what they were, but he has, as I say, been removed from office. And for lots of football fans, not just Celtic supporters, other supporters of clubs, they will say not before time. As I say, it's never nice when somebody loses their job, but he is a repeat offender. He's had a catalogue of high-profile blunders. He can't be allowed to continue to do that, Hamish.
Yeah, I think after that, that Easter Road one was just a complete shocker. Everyone knew what had happened there, and everyone knew that they had guessed, and you can't guess with VAR. It's clear and obvious decisions, and we'll never know if that ball was in or out. We'll never know, but that is the very point, that VAR will never know. So why did VAR try to intervene? Why did Alan Muir try to intervene? Well, you can have your own thoughts on whatever the reason might have been, but the reality was he shouldn't have, and that and some other decisions mean that he is no longer with the SFA. It's interesting to consider. Is this a kind of move we've seen before from the SFA to remove an official following mistakes? I've heard the officials missing certain games, but is this like a new SFA approach that if you have some really bad ones, then maybe just like a player, you'll be moved on?
Yeah, well, it's the first time I've heard of someone actually being removed from, refereeing office. To my knowledge, like you, I've heard of officials being stepped down or being, put down to maybe the championship level for a week or a couple of weeks, a cooling off period, call it what you like, or just not given a top flight football match the following week after an incident like this. So it's certainly, uncharted territory in terms of officials. But again, it goes back to that when everybody said that officials know there's no punishment, nothing seems to happen, and they did get appointed the next week to a high profile game. So I think it sends a correct message out. Let's put it that way, Hamish, that no mistakes or high profile blunders, and a catalogue of them will not be tolerated. And I think that can only be good for the game, because if it helps clear everything up, or it helps clear confusion up, because I still to this day, I find that decision that day utterly baffling. Rangers supporters still find the decision not to award the penalty against Liam Scales in the League Cup final utterly baffling. So, no, football supporters can't all be wrong, can they?
Yeah. Well, Alan Muir is away. And that's kind of us for today, Tony. We're just looking ahead to Saturday now and hoping that Celtic can give us some joy in our lives again. Things should be good. As you said earlier, this could be the weekend the title is won. Please, Celtic, just turn up and perform well and make us all feel good and looking forward to the end of the season, because it can still be a good end to the season.
Yeah, we've got 7/8 games, Hamish. The plan is, and the challenge now, win them all. Win them all. That's, keep that in-house. Don't publicly declare it. But if I'm Brendan Rodgers, I'm saying to this group of players, 7, make it 8. So let's say it's 8, because they make the Scottish Cup final. Go a flawless 8. That will be your bursting through the tape and bursting through the finishing line. And as I said in yesterday's article, that for me, the build up to the Champions League qualifier starts now. It has to start now. You have to start thinking ahead. And so in order for that preparation, that's part of your preparation, let's treat these last 8 games with the reverence they deserve. We've had our blip. We've shipped 14 points since the turn of the year. Let's put an end to that. Let's now go in these 8 games and win every one of them, and win them well, and win them with aplomb. And I include going to Ibrox as well. I think that's become a much more important game than it probably should be. But I think lots of Celtic supporters will now want to register another victory over Rangers, regardless if the league is sewn up at that point or not.
I think so, but it's Kilmarnock first on Saturday. Tony, thank you. We'll catch up with you very soon. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. More on the website, as always. Remember, we've got this offer going at the moment. Very good offer, £1 for 6 months of access, plus a free Jota print from Made by Frankie thrown in as well. And it's a cracker. So get involved there. I will return this time tomorrow. Speak to you then.